I want to start by saying congratulations to all the graduates of 2021. It's exciting, and I hope you know that we all, despite this format, want you to know how special today is and how honored I am to be a part of it. I would like to thank Director John J. Farmer Jr., Associate Director John Weingart, and Director of Alumni Relations and Education Program Manager Sarah Kozak for inviting me again to deliver tonight's address to at this year's graduation events for the Eagleton Undergraduate Associates Program and the Graduate Fellowship Program. I am honored to be here via Zoom. I wish I could have, we could be delivering this in person. We are all still grappling with the disastrous effects of a global pandemic. As you all can recall, March 11, 2020, COVID-19 was declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization. On March 13th of last year, a national emergency was declared in the United States. And on March 21st, 2020, Governor Murphy directed all New Jersey residents to stay at home. Life before the world shut down, it's like a distant memory, I bet, for all of us. And we've all been forced to acclimate to new ways of learning, interacting, and living this post-pandemic life. As a global community, what we have experienced this past year is unprecedented. Many of us have been challenged in unimaginable ways. As you know, and as Director Farmer just said, in addition to dealing with the pandemic, my husband Mark and I have been forced to deal with the unfathomable loss of our only child, Daniel Mark. As I thought about tonight's address, I wondered how I would talk to you all about that brutal attack on our family. On July 19, 2020, our lives were changed in an instant, and we will never be the same. As it was publicly reported, a self-proclaimed anti-feminist and racist lawyer targeted me because of my position as a federal judge. He gathered my personally identifiable information, which was readily available on the internet, stalked my family, and attempted to carry out a plan to assassinate me. Tragically, on that Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock, this man with hate in his heart came to my home, rang my doorbell, and within seconds took the life of our only child. The man then turned the gun on my husband, shot him 3 times, and Mark is still recovering from those life-threatening injuries. I came pretty close to becoming a widow in the hours, days, and months that followed that unthinkable attack. As Mark and I try to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives, we are confronted with new challenges every single day. Despite all our sadness and despair, we've learned many lessons these past 10 months, and I want to share a few with you tonight. Tonight, I want to talk about the power of choice, the need for resiliency, and the interplay between faith and love when it comes to overcoming challenges in your life. Moving forward, as you travel this next phase of your life, it is important to remember that you have choices. And the choices that you will make have a direct impact on your life. I'm a big fan of TED Talks. I watch them all the time. And I came across one called Choices That Can Change Your Life, presented by New York Times bestselling author Carolyn Mace. I strongly recommend that everybody that's watching tonight, Google it and watch that TED Talk if you've got 20 minutes to spare. As a judge, I must give credit where credit is due, and this portion of my speech is taken directly from that TED Talk. In her remarks, Carolyn, we're on a first name basis. She's my, we're friends. She doesn't know it, but we're friends. And she says that choice is the most powerful thing we have going for us. As we go about our lives, we need to understand that the choices we make have infinite consequences. I'm talking about choices that range from the little choices to, as Carolyn says, the great, big, huge ones. We think we understand what little and big choices are, but in actuality, we don't. For many of us, we believe the big choices in life are the obvious ones, right? What school should we attend? What should we major in? What job should we take? Should we buy a house? Do we get married or divorced? However, it's the daily choices we make that are the most powerful choices. And it all starts with integrity. Caroline says that we must make a conscious decision to live a life of integrity. That means that every single day, we must say what we're going to do and do it. We must speak the truth and not lie. And when we make promises, we have to keep them. In my day, we used to say your word is bond. It's a different way of saying it, right? When we're saying what we mean, however, we must be impeccable with our words. When deciding to speak, know your audience. Think about how your words will be received. We also must be impeccable with our conduct, thinking about our actions, and again, contemplating how our actions affect others. We must stop blaming other people for the decisions we make. And when we make bad decisions, we need to own them. We must stop telling ourselves that we are entitled to certain things like happiness. Instead, we must work hard to live our lives in a way that enables us to feel accomplished, satisfied, and ultimately happy. We must stop telling ourselves that we don't deserve the bad things that have happened to us, or that we deserve better. We must understand that bad things happen to everyone. Sometimes those bad things are big, sometimes they're smaller, but they happen. They're going to happen in your lives. And you must understand that our lives are subject to change. When confronting challenges, we have choices. The day evil came to my door and took the most important thing in my life and almost robbed me of my partner of 29 years, I had to make a choice. Was I going to curl up in a ball and give up on life? Or was I going to fight like heck to make the most of the life I have left on earth? I chose the latter. I chose the latter because my son, in defending his family, sacrificed his life for his father and me. Knowing that reality, I don't intend to waste a moment of my life being angry, resentful, or bitter. No. Instead, my husband, Mark, and I have made a conscious decision to forgive our son's killer, to stay in the light, and to do whatever we can do to bring about change for the betterment of the whole. Which brings me to another one of Carolyn's powerful points. We all have the choice to pass on our wisdom or our woes. Life will never be fair or perfect, but you have the choice to dig deep and somehow turn your sorrow into wisdom. In the weeks following the attack, I felt the need to publicly speak out and encourage our political leaders to do something to increase judicial security. Since that dreaded day, I have chosen to take this horrific event in my life and try to turn it into something good. We've seen the passage of Daniel's law on November 20th of last year. That law will protect the personally identifiable information of judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement personnel. I continue to speak publicly about the need for federal legislation. And as long as I have life on earth, I will continue to do whatever I can to speak out against racism, sexism, and inequality. I made the decision to pass along my wisdom, and I will not wallow in my woes. I know each of you have struggled this past year with the challenges of remote learning, being isolated from your family and loved ones and friends, robbed of a traditional graduation and everything that comes with it. But this is your opportunity to pass along your wisdom, to extract the positive things that you learned about yourself these last months. Think about your endurance. Think about your determination and your sheer will to get to this point, graduation. What lessons do you want to pass on? As you embark on your journeys, focus not on what you've lost, but rather on what you've gained. Do you now truly understand how much you value the company of your loved ones? Do you now have a clear idea of what you want to do to better the circumstances of the world around you? Are you eager to show the world what you're really made of since you've been hibernating for a year? The world awaits your contribution, and you have an opportunity to make a difference in a positive way. Leaving behind woes of anger, regret, and bitterness. How you choose to show up, it's on you. This past year, I've been reading a lot of inspirational books and receiving quotes from people. And here's one from Viktor E. Frankl. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Let me be clear. I am by no means saying that any of this is easy. It's not. And what I'm suggesting you do is very hard. It will take resiliency. We all have an idea of what our lives are supposed to look like. We all have dreams, and we set a course to see those dreams realized. But you know, life sometimes has different plans for us, and we must learn to acclimate and adjust. In the last 10 months, I've seen my husband, Mark, display a level of resilience that, quite frankly, is astonishing. I lost count, but I think he's undergone close to 20 surgical procedures, 5 major surgeries. The last one was 7.5 hours. Despite almost losing his life on a number of occasions and mourning the death of our only child, my husband's back to work. Not only is my husband back to work full time, but he also exudes a level of positivity that is truly inspiring. It is said that great tragedies awaken all that is wondrous and beautiful about human beings. Whether it be a tragedy, setback, or disappointment, the idea is to look at what's happened to you and say, this moment will not define me or my existence. When facing adversity, it's up to you to decide how you intend on confronting the challenge. Do you think you can fight the challenge on your own, or do you think you need to call in reinforcements? The idea is there will always be a variety of ways to tackle life's challenges. The one thing each of you will need is to be resilient. Resiliency is not easy. And when you're tested, those moments hurt. However, as you begin to understand the power you possess from within, You will develop a valuable skill from which you will continue to tap into as you travel this thing called life. Finally, I want to talk to you about the interplay of faith and love. Now, I know it's risky to talk about faith, and I'm not talking about faith in a religious context. When I say faith, I mean in a spiritual way. Spirituality is not a religion. It's a state of being. For Mark and I, we leaned into our faith. And that faith of ours has provided us much comfort and support. More often than not in your lives, there'll come a time when you need to remember basic spiritual teachings, or to put it another way, you're going to have to tap into your core beliefs. What's your belief system? I think every day we wake up in the morning, we should be giving thanks. We should say thank you for another day to make a difference. Oprah Winfrey is quoted as saying, if you have life, you have purpose. As the daughter of immigrants, I felt the need to be the voice for the voiceless. That's one of the reasons I chose to become a federal public defender. As a judge since 2006, I've proudly served my country. As the first Latina United States District Court judge in the District of New Jersey, I have endeavored to bring to that position all that my mother has taught me. For as long as I can remember, my mother would say, Esther, tú no eres mejor que nadie, pero nadie es mejor que tú. Translation, Esther, you're not better than anyone, but no one is better than you. Which brings me to another tenet to live by. Treat others as you would want them to treat you. My Cuban mother, with her 4th grade education, she has taught me so much. And this lesson is one I've lived by my whole life. I choose to treat everyone that I come in contact with the same, whether it's the gentleman who cleans my office, his name is Neville, and I really like Neville, or whether it's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and I've met him too. I treat them the same, with respect, kindness, and compassion. By keeping faithful principles or honoring your core values, if that's how you want to see it, you have a spiritual foundation that allows you to work through life's most difficult challenges. By refusing to compromise on the things you hold dear, you come to have faith in your judgment, and then you know you have integrity, because it isn't always easy to follow those principles at times. Faith in yourself and what you believe in is critical now more than ever before. Finally, I want to end with a message about the power of love, specifically the power of love through forgiveness. I mentioned earlier that Mark and I have chosen to forgive our son's killer. For Mark, he was able to do it while he fought for his life in the ICU. It took me a few more weeks, but I eventually came to forgiveness. Now, many of you might say, how could we ever forgive a person who viciously took our son from us? The answer is simple. From the moment I chose to forgive, I felt lighter. I let go of hatred. I let go of that negative energy that will only serve to weigh me down. Hate is heavy. Love is light. Nelson Mandela is quoted as saying, as I walked out the door toward my freedom, I knew that if I did not leave all the anger, hatred, and bitterness behind, that I would still be in prison. By choosing to forgive those that harm us, we take control. We empower ourselves to take our lives in a new direction, in an upward direction, in a direction with meaningful purpose. Through forgiveness, we have the freedom to move forward without hate in our hearts, and boy, that is liberating. In the world we live in, there is so much division, there is so much hatred. As you begin this next phase of your life, I challenge each of you to move past judgment, expel intolerance, and work towards inclusion as opposed to exclusion. Make decisions that enhance your spirit of who you really are, and decide to make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, although we cannot change the past, we can dictate the manner in which we choose to live in the future. Each of you have the power to change the direction of your lives and the lives of those around you. By choosing careers in public service, you will have a direct impact on how this country moves forward after this awful pandemic. There are people that think that change is not possible. They believe that people are too set in their ways and that there isn't much that we can do to turn things around. I am not one of those people. Despite all that has happened to me, I have faith in humanity. I believe in the power of love. And I know that nothing can stop the forward movement of change when resilient human beings work in unison for the betterment of all. I wish you the best of luck. I'm going to say to each of you, may you choose light over darkness, love over hate. And may you always remember that the power to choose how to live one's life, that's the greatest gift of all. And before I say God bless you all, I'm going to ask each of you for a favor. And that favor is, at some point, when everyone's had their vaccine and everyone can see mom and dad or the loved one that you know you owe this night to, that you give them a hug, you give them a kiss, and you never take them for granted. God bless you all.